Hey everybody, it's Chris Randall with Kickstart Cash. Coming to you from St. Petersburg, Florida. My good friend Shane.
How you doing, everyone?
Lives down here in Florida, and we made the journey down here to get him to spit some knowledge on us about credit restoration and how he's helped tons and tons of people go from 500s, 600s up to 7s and higher scores. So we can help them get into that funding process inside Kickstart Cash. So, Shane, let's just go back to when it's been a long time. We've been friends forever, and through a bunch of different adventures together,
to say the least.
So, tell us a little bit about you and how you remember we met, and I think that'll just kind of segue into how this conversation is going to go and how we've helped a lot of people, not only you but me, get into funding processes. And you have to have credit. There's no doubt.
So first, let me say, Chris, like he mentioned, we've been friends for a long time, and he's a really high-quality individual, as well as the other individuals that are in this room sharing this experience in this first video, which I've never made a video, so if I look like a dope to you, it's totally cool. But, I'll do my best. But anyway, so Chris, great guy, and real great business opportunity that he has for you guys, and he and I met back in I'd say 2002 is probably the most accurate, and we met in the mortgage industry. I've been around finance for 21 years. Chris has been around it for just as long, and we've made a lot of good contacts over the time. But Chris and I just had a lot of fun, helping people throughout the years, and we look forward to doing that for you as well.
Cool. So when I used to live in Florida. I think you probably remember the story, but a long time ago, it seems like yesterday, how time flies, but I was actually a mortgage banker here in Florida, in Orlando, before the big...
Did not know that. Interesting.
Yeah, you did.
I did, I just forgot. You know how it goes.
So way back when, and that's how I stumbled into the mortgage business. I was selling golf clubs. Jasper, you remember that?
Absolutely.
And I was in this bar one night, and I was like, this guy's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just selling golf clubs. I'm down here from Wisconsin for a couple of weeks, and I was like,
I remember this story now.
Stayed here for 3 years, but so I saw this guy a golf club, and we exchanged cards, and I woke up the next morning, and my phone rang, and he's like, hey, Chris, this is Mike. You got to come down to my office. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you didn't like the club? And he goes, no, it's not that. I need you to come to my office. I'm like, where's your office, man? I just figured I was going to have to go back and give his money back and get the club, right? So I go get dressed, shower, and I go to his office. And I'm like, where is this place? Right in this hallway. And I find his office. And he's on the phone. I'm like, hey, how's it going? He goes, just sit down. So I'm like, all right, so you want the club? It's cool. I'll buy it back. We had a scarcity of clubs. So
you had a hardcore tuned-in special club that you're selling.
Oh yeah, it was
the creme de la
It was
creme
the
at
big
time.
head, the 360 before Callaway came out with it,
right.
and they were saying we're infringing on their patent and all this stuff. It was pretty crazy.
Something interesting, kind of a segue. Sorry about this. The next door neighbor here, they just sold their spot, but she's the #1 PGA women's golfer in the world. Oh, she used our clubs then, because then I went on to rep for the field golf, and all the PGA girls used the field wedges back when I got them in all the Edwin Watts in Orlando. Awesome.
It was pretty. It was a great experience. I didn't make any money, but I got to golf every day for free, so it's fun. So I show up at this guy's office. I had no idea what he did. I barely remember selling him the club, but he was a salesman. He was Portuguese. And just hardcore sales guy, right? So I show up at his office, and he kind of looked a little grumpy, and he was on the phone, and he goes, so he gets off the phone, and he goes, so what are you doing? I'm like, I was just going to go to the driving range and try and sell some golf clubs. He goes, here's the deal. I met you last night. I'm like, yeah, I'll buy the club back from you. Here's $350. He's like, no, it's not. I don't care about the club. You got to come work for me. I'm like, what are you talking about? And what do you do? And he was a mortgage guy. He's like, I don't care about the club, but you sold me a club, now I'm in golf. I've never golfed in a day of my life. You got to come work for me. So that day, I went in the mortgage business.
Interesting.
That day, right? So that was like the beginning of me understanding how that world worked, right? And I was doing loans. I didn't even really know what I was doing back then.
You got to learn somewhere,
right?
Just like you guys are learning some of these intricacies through this program, but it's nuts and bolts. But it's no different, it's like riding a bike. You got to fall and you got to learn and you got to do your thing, and You just get better with time and listening to those that care about you and have some good insight into the intricacies of things
Yeah.
in that subject.
And, you know, after, I don't know, I'm 12 years now of doing real estate and helping people raise money and raising money myself, I think people, you know, can say that I'm an expert. 10,000 hours.
It's true.
You know, over 100 flips.
Yeah. And you are.
And I was explaining this to Jasper last time. Like, I did all that without any of my money, but I had this education, right? I studied for a year before I did my very first deal, which is probably somewhere in this training, and we'll get to that. But very first deal I did, none of my money. And
Which is what he can help you with, by the way.
yeah, it's the possibilities are endless if you actually put your mind to it and, you know, do a little studying or have a good coach, which is part of our program. We coach people on how to do all that stuff. So if I would have had a coach that, like, I got in this education system, I had to study it and implement it. I didn't have a coach, right? And that was one of the things that I thought
Why
was missing.
take years to do what you can do in months?
Right, exactly.
By taking the good advice from people that you can trust that have your best interest at heart.
Right.
Why take years to do what you can do in months?
Right. So
that's what this is all about.
Yeah, and that's why I created this program. So when I did all that real estate investing education stuff, I was still like a year later. I was like, oh, okay, but you have to actually take action, right? So if I would have had a coach, it would have helped me, you know, take that next step.
Accountability, guidance, assistance.
Totally, right?
High fives now and then.
Right. So inside of all that, you know, they taught us how to do all these crazy different types of real estate deals, but there was always one piece missing, and that was, you know, you find a deal, how do you get the money, right?
That's a pretty major piece.
It is. I didn't have a regular job. I've always been self-employed, an entrepreneur, right? So they're like, so I go to the bank, find a deal, and I go to the bank. They're like, oh, well, we need 2 years of business tax returns, and we need to see your monthly income. I'm like, okay, well, thanks. I do not qualify, and most people that are business owners won't, because you write off as much as you can against your taxes, so you don't have to pay a ton of income tax. And that law is written by the Republicans a long, long time ago. So it's
There's
just
a lot of
benefit.
variables to it all.
And and you know, that information itself inside of tax and legal is, as a business owner, is priceless.
Strategy is everything, no matter what it is. I'm sure you guys would all agree.
And education.
And education, strategy, and well, that's where the strategy comes from, is from education.
Right.
Is you start to learn how to become more efficient and more effective and more productive with your actions.
Resourceful.
And your time. Resourceful. That's a great one too.
Right. So I created this possibility I was going to go do these deals, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. The bank told me no. I'm going to go find another way to
Right.
get these deals done. And I would figure out how to do deals without any money.
And you were crushing it, bro.
It was
He was
crazy.
crushing it.
So
He is crushing it.
and that was like 6,
But out of
8
the
years
gates,
ago,
just
right?
killing it.
6, 8 years ago, when the market was at the bottom and every house I looked at was boarded up. It was nuts. Everyone was like, "Why are you doing that? There's no value in it." But if you can buy a house for 30, 40 grand and produce $1,200 a month in rents, you know, I had people across the country calling me to
no-brainer.
do this, but not until I created the funding process, and that's Kickstart Cash. So I found this process where I could raise money without having to show tax returns or income to go buy rental properties. And that's how I did it.
Yep.
So I did that for 3-4 years, and I was helping people
Which
get funding.
coincidentally is the same person that brought us back together after, well, that's one of the programs, but he's got multiple programs to accomplish this. We both do. But Rob is
Jensen.
the one, he's the one
That's
that brought
right.
us back together.
Right after the market crashed and everyone
Years
after
apart.
everyone had to
Here
get
we
out
are.
of the mortgage business because the banks weren't lending any money for a year and a half, you know, at that crisis, I was actually buying houses
Yeah.
for nothing, right? So with that said, there always were people that would call me that had issues with their credit, like 680, 700. We always needed a 720. Now that's changed.
It has. Down to a 685, even down to a 620.
Right.
However,
So that's why I
Where
brought
you
Shane.
fall.
So that's why I brought the expert in today, because we always have an issue. There's always a late payment or something on your credit that's not correct. And I've teamed up with Shane to help all you guys, and he's helped a lot of my clients get to the point where they're fundable. And almost 80% of the people that come through my program need some sort of massaging of their credit so they're lendable for the maximum amount. So I'm going to let Shane explain what credit is, how it works.
Whoa.
When you guys have an issue with it, don't like stick your head in the sand and think it's just going to go away. It's not. But there's a quick way. Shane earlier we were filming just a little Q&A with Jasper about how long does it take. And some of these companies take 12 months because they just want to get a monthly payment out of you. And Shane's like 30 days, 60 days. We can
70 to 80 is more accurate, but
he's helped a ton of people.
It's 10 to 12 months.
Right,
so
but helping a lot of people understand that there's other options out there that people aren't going to tell you. He's the best. So I'm going to let you take over. I'm excited that you're here, by the way.
Thank you. Likewise, man. We're in this beautiful environment and doing something cool. Hopefully that will help you guys out. So what he had just stated about how credit works, we're going to dig into all the intricacies of this stuff
later.
We have to. I mean, it's there's so many variables. It's tough to explain. But let's just kind of put it in a nutshell. Is industry averages for credit repair are typically 10 to 12 months. Industry averages for removal rates of that data is about 25 to 30%. It's all supposed to be there for 7. It's all pie in the sky. As you pull out negative information out of each software program, which is what the bureaus use to score us, that's part of the equation. Is yanking out negative, scores pop up because that information is not in that program holding that score down. Pretty easy to understand. It's a program. You yank out negative, score pops up. You can also do things with positive information within that profile. And there's a lot of variables, that's why I won't dig into it all, but there's when you know how the stuff functions, which we're pretty good at it, and we're very well respected. We do this service for a lot of very big companies across the country. SBA administration, right. The huge franchise companies. I've been around credit for 21 years, doing this for 7, but it's really my legal team and my team that allows us to offer an above average premium type service that is really geared towards helping the consumer and not gouging them for money like the majority of these companies do. And it's efficient and it's effective and it's the best. There's things you can control and there's things you can't control is what it comes down to. And we would never know how we can help somebody until we're actually able to investigate their credit profiles. Credit repair is like a puzzle. It's like a chess game in action. And so when you see that game pieces laid out, depending on how you move those players around, you try and win the game against the people that are trying to beat us. So that's the nutshell. Now you got, we'll dig into, variables and caveats and different. Go ahead.
We can go. We go on and on
this
about
that
for
stuff.
Hours. I know it's great.
If you let me go, I just babble for
he's
hours.
He's great, but you guys, he'll blow your mind. He'll absolutely blow your mind. And they're like, no one's ever told me that, and no one probably will ever tell you this either. Yeah. Shane has this thing figured out. It's so great.
It's fun.
But can we just?
I'm still figuring out things. I'll be
every day. I bet it's every day.
We're good. Yep.
Can we go into maybe just a couple examples to help people come back to where they can understand it, which I think this will help people a lot.
I get a little leery about sharing examples because everybody's deal is different. Going back to the chessboard that's in play, there's so many. But let's just share a few stories. So going back to the industry average of the 10 to 12 with the removal rates of 25 to 30% average in 10 to 12 months, with our process and with the legal team that we use to do the disputing for our clients, it's a microwave process and I can't even dig into why it is, but it is. It's completed in 70, 80 days. You do 2 full rounds. We blast, whether somebody's got 10 disputes or 100 disputes, we blast it all. And that creates an environment to where 30 business days later, you pull an updated bureau, you cross-reference data, you see which items came off, you see improvements to scores, whatever items are still there, you blast again, go through that second round, bang out a final analysis. Based on the data that's left over, you massage it more, massage in a legal way, massage it in a fashion because it's a software program. So there's things that you can do, but the idea is you get in there and you pull as many of the weeds out of the garden as you can. Based on the information that's left over, you re-game plan, you re-strategize. It's like a chess game in action. So, but example-wise, I'll use myself as an example first. Credit repair companies as a whole have a really bad name, and because there's a lot of people out there that take advantage of people that are in a bad spot, that are desperate and they're looking for help, and people take advantage of that, no matter what industry it is. And And so I had gone through a bankruptcy. I've gone through two, actually. I went through a bankruptcy in 1995 when I got in a motorcycle accident. Lost 3.5 of my fingers in my left hand, and no health insurance, and 72 grand in hospital bills in like 3.5 weeks. So BK, Chapter 7, wiped it out. Credit was decent before that, but I was a kid growing up. It was kind of screwed up. But I damaged it really bad then, obviously, and then took years to build it back up.
Did you get that to come off your credit eventually?
So years to come up, and then using these guys,
Right.
the same process that we're offering to help you guys with is the same process that helped me. But I'm just trying to give a little lead in. Is 95 Chapter 7, 2008 Chapter 7 when I lost my mortgage company when everything blew up, and then I went back into the 700s, and now I'm back down to the pooper because I'm going through divorce. So bad things happen to good people, and life is life, and we make mistakes, and things happen, So, and because they're programs, they're very unforgiving because it's a black and white. Well, it's not black and white. There's a lot of gray area in there too, but nonetheless, it's a scoring model. So myself as the first example, I did lending. I did mortgages for 14 years. I did auto financing for a few years. I've been doing credit repair for 7. And this opportunity came to me to be part of this team. They wanted me to work with them. And because of what I had heard about credit repair companies, I'm like, you know what? I'm not interested. A bunch of scammers and hurting people. But I did my due diligence, and this company was really well respected. They only work with people that they can trust to represent them well. And I said, okay, I tell you what, you go ahead and pump. I said, here's my circumstances, which I just shared with you, minus the divorce at this point. But nonetheless, I was in a bad spot with my credit. And so and I don't want you to set the bar here, but in 2 months, they got 65% of my information removed. My scores went up like 125 points to 150 points in 70 days. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is pretty cool. Yes, I'll represent you guys. And so I've been doing that for a little over 7 years. And the stories are numerous as to the benefit that it can provide somebody, and even whether it gets that person to where, this is where it gets kind of technical, but let's say that so if I hit 65% in 70 days, and you've got the industry average is 10 to 12 months, and a 25 to 30%, that's double the industry average, and it's 5 times as fast. Okay, and it's because of process. We can't dig into all that right now, but nonetheless, it's real. And when you utilize this Fair Credit Reporting Act to challenge negative data, and you yank it out of that equation, then you're massaging positive data, you create an environment hitting that algorithm from both sides of the coin, and you maximize someone's scores very fast. And that's the key, is speed. Why waste time? Why take 12 months to do what you can do in 2? Time's irreplaceable. Get with somebody that's cool. Get somebody that's got your back. Get with somebody that knows what the hell they're talking about. And get rock and rolling with whatever your goal is. But I'll give you this example. Last week I did a reanalysis, a 30-day reanalysis, and the customer scores were up between 97 and 121 points. That's like shaving off years of organic recuperation in 30 days, And that's not everybody's story, but it is. To every single piece that you pull out or insert, you're going to improve your score. And I'll leave it at this without too many more, because there's so many examples. I don't know.
We could go on and on.
It's tough. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Lots of cool stories.
And this is just one little segment to get you guys a little bit of knowledge,
Right.
And then we're going to plug you into Shane, and you guys can have him as a coach too. Inside, probably
we got a team of people that can help you.
Somewhere inside of our coaching program, you guys will have.
But if you need
access.
credit repair, it'll be me or Jasper.
Right. Yeah. So, I'm sorry.
No. Okay. So, the score-wise, every point helps. Everything that you need in life goes off a pricing matrix. Looks like a triangle in the corner of the room. And if you can picture this big triangle on the left-hand side going up the wall are credit scores. They typically go in 20-point increments depending on the lending institution, the guidelines set in place by the directors of the company, and so on. You have different guidelines out there, and you have different parameters, different rates, and all kinds of different variables. But as a generalization, picture a big triangle in the corner of the room. On the left-hand side going up the wall, you got credit scores. They typically go in 20-point increments up over 720. They're called pricing tiers. And we can misqualify them for something by 1 point. So like if your goal is to pursue, this type of business funding tends to be the strictest. in regards to what they're willing to accept, because there's a high risk level associated with it, because most people that pursue something down this avenue don't have good guidance like you can receive from these guys, or me for that matter. And so they end up, losing. And if you've got a good mentor and a good coach and somebody that truly cares, then your probability of going, not having it work goes way down. But nonetheless, when you go to a score, 720, 680, 620, the higher you can be up the ladder, the better the deals can get on stuff. If you're going for a $50,000 loan or $100K or a $500K or a couple $1 million loan, you shave off 1/4% to 0.5% to 1%. I mean, that's making, depending on the loan size and the amortization of that loan, is making difference of thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, depending on how big that gets. So investing in getting your credit score, whether you qualify out of the gates, I'll be honest with you, whether you qualify out of the gates with a 685 is all you need. If you're a 700 or 720 or 740, 60, spending 20 points higher is going to save you money.
So spend just a little bit of time. Spend a little bit of time to rebuild that.
Why not? Why not? Just because you get approved, why not? If you can shave off a couple grand for yourself for less than $1,000, that's a no-brainer. Math is math.
Yeah, so like 80% of my clients that have come through.
Not that I'm trying to pitch you anything, but it's just truth.
It is true.
It is.
Like 80% of my clients, all that have come and got the business funding, like 80% of them all had. They're like, yeah, no, let's boost it up. I want to save a point or half a point.
Even a quarter on 100K, 1/4%. We should have done the amortization table, but I would guess off the top of my head, 1/4% on a $100,000 loan on let's just call it a 10-year amortization schedule. It'd probably save you at least 5 to 10 G's, at least.
Yeah, it's crazy when you look at one of those mortgage docs.
It's crazy.
And it's like 300 grand, and when after the 30 years, you're paying like 600 grand for the house.
When they front load them, the lenders front load them, because statistically people refinance every 5 years out of a loan. So that the banks actually front load the amortization in the first 60 months of a loan. So if you can shave off even 1/4%, it can make a huge difference for you.
And there, through our coaching program, there's all kinds of other ways that the banks are going to tell you. How to double your payment for the first 2 years, and you'll knock off 8 years of your loan. And that's a lot of money at the end. Now, and a lot of people do refinance within the first few years for 0.5% or something, but. There's bigger and better ways inside our coaching program that we teach people how to be, more knowledgeable than what the bank wants you to know.
There's so much more for you guys to learn. Take this information that we just shared with you, make a decision as to whether or not you feel that that we're a good fit to assist you in your goals. And if you feel that we're a good fit, just click on the link that's associated here with this video, and that'll take you through the next steps to dig in further with us. So we'll look forward to helping any way we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Shane, I gotta just commend you for taking the time to do this with me.
Yeah,
I appreciate
absolutely.
it.
Thank you for coming down.
And I'm sure everyone out there, I love you too.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody out there too is just gonna get a plethora of information. They're gonna be like, trying to drink
I love
from
that word, plethora.
Trying to drink from the garden. Like the fire hose is harder than drinking from the garden hose.
Yeah.
So, just quickly, when they're like, well, I don't even know what my credit looks like. How do we, what's like the first step for people, so we can just kind of simplify quickly, what's the quick steps from that first conversation or question of, I don't even know if I'm lendable or how that all works.
You want to start with looking at your stuff, and kind of the most common resource that people are well aware of is Credit Karma. Credit Karma is great as a free site. It's the only one out there that's free aside from annual credit report, which is a very confusing bureau source because it comes in 3 formats. But Credit Karma is nice for free, but they only give you 2 of the 3 bureaus. And the problem is that the credit bureaus charge the creditors to report their data. So some report to 1, some report to 2, some report to 3. And so you have different information within each of these profiles. And Credit Karma, while great for free, that's also why you're getting a lot of marketing stuff, is because that's how they get paid, which is cool. You're getting your information for free, and they give you alerts, let you know something goofy's going on. But you're missing 1 of the 3 bureaus, which makes you run blind.
So we need to see all 3.
You can choose to do whatever you want, but it makes sense to look at all 3. Yeah, because statistically 8 out of 10 credit bureaus have mistakes on them these days in this current day and age. And the Fair Credit Reporting Act came out in 1970, so 49 years worth. It didn't fix the problem, but that's how credit repair even works. But yes, you want to monitor all three bureaus, especially in this day and age because there's so much, identity theft and fraud going on, and it just makes sense. I mean, we count on it way too much, and there's mistakes. And it's all not malicious mistakes. It's just all human error. People droning over data, typing a letter wrong or a number wrong, and it creates inaccuracy, which the Fair Credit Reporting Act requires 100% accurate information by both the credit bureau and the creditor. And so to answer your question, where do you get a good resource? I'll attach a link that I utilize to help my clients to help out here, which is through a consumer site. Doesn't affect your score. Costs you $1. It's only for 7 days. And most of these sites are like $30 to $60 a month. They give you all three, and then they hit you if you want to update. You can update your bureaus, but then you got to pay extra for score, and then they make it confusing. You got to click on this tab and click on that tab and open it up, and they just want to keep people confused so that you don't become a problem to them, basically. But this particular site is really consumer friendly. You don't have to click on anything. You can scroll right through it. And it, like I say, it won't affect your score. So I'll help out. I'll provide you guys with that link. That'll be in here somewhere as well. And you can go ahead and access it. It'll give you all three scores. When you set up your username and password on there, pick out a password that's unique. Never use the same thing that you use on another site. You do this with all your sites to protect yourself. But once you're in there, you're going to see your three scores, and you can just scroll right through your report. Based on your scores, you can determine whether or not you want any kind of assistance, which if you do need some assistance, I got you.
Right. So if they have any
we
questions,
got you.
most people probably won't even know if they look at their credit report what the heck they're looking at.
No.
First of all, so obviously you have a fee to analyze it. If they come through the Kickstarter cash system, we're like, well, you're going to need some credit.
Normally it's
Repairs.
$150 for a consultant analysis, a full one, which is it's time consuming, and it'll include some strategies on how you can improve your credit without credit repair. But if you're coming through this portal here, you'll get preferred pricing like a lot of my major partners that I work with to help their clients. So it'll only be $75, but that'll cover you all.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, man.
So if someone has inquiries or late payments or like a charge off, like that really can boost someone's score if they go through the credit restructuring. If you get that stuff removed, right? That's like the whole key to this, right?
That's part of it. It's about pulling out negative and
Putting in positive.
not necessarily putting in, but working with, there's a lot of stuff. We'll dig into that at another time. It's too hard to answer that question in a short format. But understand that it's math, and it's a chess game in play, and if you don't like what you see in your bureaus, then there'll be some addition. Once you click on that, you'll see some more information on our company's differentiating qualities in comparison to the industry averages. There'll be some special pricing in there for you that will coincide with Chris and Tony's program to help out. And if you decide that it's something that you need, reach out.
So I think the first thing everyone needs to do is look at their credit if they're
That's the
interested.
first thing.
If they're interested in working with us,
Yep.
we'll probably know before you guys do. But once you look at it, then we'll just have you call Shane. I mean, if we know you need to talk to him, we're gonna link you up with him, and then he'll tell you exactly how the whole scenario is gonna work.
And what you're looking for is a 685 plus, ideally. There are companies that go down lower than that for business funding, but they hit you over the head. As your score goes down, you get pounded a little bit harder, with interest rate and fees. So, the more we can scoot you up before you always want to be prepared. So pull your credit, figure out where you're at. If you need some help, reach out. We got you covered.
Right
That's what
on.
it comes down to.
Cool. So inside the Kickstarter cash system, remember, you don't need tax returns, and you don't need income. You don't even need to have a job. It's kind of crazy. But we've been helping people for the last 5 years inside this program. You do need to have your credit at a certain place. And that's why I got Shane, because he's the best. Thanks, Shane, for coming.
You're welcome.
Let's go hit the surf.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
we're gonna
beautiful
go,
here. It's 90 degrees outside, and I'm
yes.
sunburnt already.
Thank you for listening. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys, and we're here for you when you need us.
Cool.